Welcome. Did you experience trauma as a kid? And has this hindered your relationships in some way? Are you ready to learn a little bit more about healing your inner child? If you are, then you're in the right place. Thank you, Kathy, for being here. And thank you to those who are either listening or watching. My name is Mandi Gardner, and I'm the founder of Holistic Evolution Shala. I'm here with Kathy Sanderson, and she is with the Inner Child Healing, and she has a Facebook group and she hosts retreats. All right, Kathy, when we're looking at healing beyond traditional therapy, I wonder, in your experience, what is it about holistic methods such as inner child work or in-person retreats that really helps trauma survivors move forward?
So a few years ago now, I worked with a lady who had been in with this one therapist for 20 years. And she'd seen what I was doing on Facebook. She was from your side of the pond. And we worked together. And she would go in and he would say, I don't know what this Kathy is doing, but it's marvelous because you are meeting every one of the tasks that I've given you now, and you are moving forward in your healing. I'd been in and out of counselling from the age of 16, and I found it was really easy to move the conversation of talk therapy towards something I wanted to talk about. I found it was really easy to deflect. Now, whether it was because I was paying them by the hour and they don't really care, whether it was seen as okay to keep going back for 20 years to a talk therapist, maybe that's why. But I'm very fortunate that I have this gift where when I'm talking to somebody, I can know the age and the experience that happened, that they're ready to deal with, that they're ready to heal, that they may have forgotten about, but I can guide them to. And then we can look at, well, actually, this happened here. What did it teach you? What did it teach you about yourself, about other people, about the world around you? And to look at how those beliefs about yourself and others were created and how they're now playing out in this reality, so that we can see where they came from and where we need to change and whether this is still true and whether we want that to be still true. Because some people, it suits them to be as they are, and some people aren't ready to change it.
I went to over 15 years of talk therapy, and my experience was that I kept, unfortunately, reliving the trauma. I kept going back into that dark place, and it was not, I got to a point where it felt really unproductive. In the beginning, I do believe it was really helpful because it was the first time I'd ever had this healthy relationship with a grown adult woman that was able to validate my experience as a child and let me know that, like, it's totally normal that you're struggling with anxiety and depression after experiencing these things. That was huge for me. That was this huge light bulb moment. And so I do know that there's so much value in it. I just, unfortunately for me, it felt that I just kept reliving the past and rehashing old stuff versus moving forward and learning new techniques and new skills, right? Which hopefully is what we're addressing a little bit today.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It was thought for so long that there were only these treatments of CBT or electroshock therapy, if we go back that far, or talk therapy or pharmaceuticals. There was only that. And now there are so many different things, and some things are going to suit some people and some things aren't going to suit other people. And some people would much rather do hypnotherapy where they don't really have to remember. And some people would rather go deep down and do the deep shadow work and that stuff. It's good now that we are in this age 20 years, from 20 years ago, basically, where it's all more out in the open. It's not just in little areas, little hippie areas where people are doing that thing. It's very mainstream. Maybe it's mainstream to me because that's all I see, but it's much more available and it's much more known. And that's good because not everything is going to be suitable for everybody.
Thank you so much. Moving on to talking about breaking free from these patterns that we develop, these trauma related patterns. For those who feel stuck in these similar behaviors of trauma, let's say abandonment or hypervigilance, anxiety, patterns in relationships of maybe not communicating effectively, things like this. What are some of the first steps that we can take to break free and to begin really to creating the life that we truly want?
There's a few ways we can look at. I do a little technique where we start at something that's hurt us recently. So a situation that happened to us recently, and we look at who was involved, what was happening, what was said, and where we were, and how it made you feel. And then we look again at something that made you feel the same way 6 months previous. And we look again who was involved, what happened, and how it made you feel. Then we go back a year, then we go back 5 years, then we go back 10 years, and depending how old you are, like me, you could go back another 10 years until we get to 16. And then we go back to age 6. And what we're looking for is that pattern. The power of that exercise is that we can actually see how that experience that we had when we were 6 is still influencing us today. How our inner child's feelings, thoughts, and emotions and beliefs about the world is still controlling how we are moving forward. And it's a pretty powerful way to see. But there's also looking at how that behavioral action is actually serving us. I do something else called soul realignment, and we call it in this negative guides. But we develop a way of being that enables us to survive that experience as a child. See that it helped us, realize that it's no longer relevant, and drop it. But because we get caught in that trauma loop, we don't. So we carry on being that child who never speaks up, the one who ignores what's going on, the one who allows people to bully us because it's safer, that type of thing. So we look then and we look at, hang on, is that behaviour serving us now? How did it serve us? Thank you. So grateful that we had that ability to do that. And it gave us a great service, but now it's no longer. So that's why sometimes it's easier for people to know that, call it as a negative spirit guide, because it was an energy that came in that allowed us to survive, but now we don't need to survive. You are stopping us from thriving.
So, what I take away from that is being able to have perhaps a little bit of mindfulness while we are in the grips of becoming emotionally heightened or triggered, right? If we're getting really upset and really looking and trying to be mindful of, just like you said, what's the situation that's happening right now. When I was a child, I experienced my stepfather cheating on my mom, and I didn't actually see it, but he had affairs and it led to divorce, and it was very tumultuous. And anyway, growing up later, becoming an adult woman, I just had this belief that men cheat, right? And that's not the healthiest thing, right? And so then entering into a relationship where I really want this healthy relationship with this person, right? But there was this time that he didn't answer the phone, and it was right in the beginning few months of dating. And I immediately got triggered, and I immediately just thought that he was cheating, right? Because of my past experience. And in that moment, I had to use mindfulness and I had to talk myself down and remind myself, okay, this is not him. This comes from old stuff, right? And as I'm talking to myself and also keeping myself from writing a crazy text message, because in my heightened emotion and fear, I'm like, where are you? What are you doing? You said you'd be home. But I'm in the grips. I'm also trying to breathe and realize, okay, this isn't him. This is me, right? And then sure enough, he calls me and he says, oh, sorry, I just dropped by my brother's and we were in conversation. I'll be home in a little bit. And so I had this huge, explosive, emotional outburst that it felt in my chest, right? All because of this one little thing, right? It dealt with my partner, my close, intimate partner, who didn't answer the phone when I expected. And I expected that, right? And so then it triggered me to have all these fearful thoughts that came from my previous experience, right? And I am so grateful for my ability to start recognizing and learning and being able to stop myself before I go into these trauma based behaviors. Anyway, I'm so
It's
grateful for.
powerful because had you not been able to recognize that and observe that, then you may have put that situation into motion by going off on him and him thinking, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Going to a bar, getting drunk.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
and because you're aware of it, then you've chosen to bring people into your life now who are going to reflect a different emotion,
Mhm.
different
Yeah.
experience, because literally just bringing it out into the light, enabling it to be seen, is such a powerful thing that we can do.
Thank you so much for sharing everything. I can imagine that your retreats in Wales are just fantastic and fun and such a wonderful place to be to help tap into that inner child. So I wonder, would you tell the people who are watching and listening to our conversation today, let them know where they can find more information about you and your retreats?
Yes, you can find me on communitygatherings.uk. That's our website. I'm really big on Facebook, so you can find me on Facebook, Kathy L. Sanderson. And you can also look for the Community Camping and Healing Gatherings Facebook group and see what we do on there too.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you to all of those who took the time to watch and listen.
Giving me this opportunity to talk to you. It's been very enjoyable.
Oh, good. It's my pleasure.